stage in the Davos snow, selling a story that wasn't quite so. A signature dried on a land theft bill, 34 days past the bottom of the hill. Too late for the court, too late for the plea, just a sleight of hand for the world to see. They thought they could hide it in the mountain air, but the clock was ticking and the truth was there.
Oops, the ain't did it again, playing a game they're never gonna win. They're spinning the wheels while the bridge is burning, but the rest of the world, yeah, the tide is turning.
Yeah, they're doubling down on a broken trend.
Oops, the ain't did it again. And then the mantra started, a familiar sound. Trump is ill-informed, they passed it around like the biggest intel net the world has known. Doesn't see the seeds at the party sown.
Luther the house tried to paint it all fake, but the harder they push, the more it would break. That domestic charm might play in the streets, but it falls on deaf ears when the world stage meets. Oh,
oops, the ain't did it again, playing a game they're never gonna win. They're spinning the wheels while the bridge is burning, but the rest of the world, yeah, the tide is turning.
yeah, they're doubling down on a broken trend.
Oops, the ain't did it again.
A door swung open for the tired and the few, Afrikaners, coloreds, and Indians too. But Pretoria panicked, trying to gum up the work, slow down the pace where the shadows lurked.
Denied the visas, raided the site, trying to keep the exodus out of the light. Then they went rogue, went way out of line, crossing a border they shouldn't define.
Sue, diplomat man, that's a red card. You're playing for keeps, but you're playing too hard. An own goal seal, a diplomatic sin. Where does the madness end and the logic begin?
Washington's watching, the hammer's gonna fall. You can't run astray and expect to stand tall. Did it again, playing a game they're never gonna win. They're spinning the wheels while the bridge is burning, but the rest of the world, yeah, the tide is turning.
Yeah, they're doubling down on a broken trend.
Oops, the ain't
Yeah, the hammer's coming.
Don't you think?
They did it again.
Straight red card.
Oops, they did it again.
Yeah.
Oops, they did it again.
Yeah, the hammer's coming.
Don't you think?
They did it again.
Straight red card.
Oops, they did it again.
Yeah. Oh, 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 yeah, they did it again.
Yeah. Marvin Devine. I'm saying bye to all the lies and all the times you cried, saying that I wasn't right, yet I was right by your side. You manipulator, playing games, your friends commentators, and I don't know what you say about our private conversations, but it's got them hating. Thanks to all the rumors you be claiming. It's cool, I'm done with you, so they can throw you a celebration. You gon' hate it when you see me with somebody living better. I'm trying to tell you that me just doing me gon' have you jealous.
Oh my, oh my. Oof, my goodness. Oh. Welcome back to the program, folks. Thursday, December 18th, just 7 days before Christmas. Before we get into the crap show that is, the crap storm that is today, let me just take care of the Advents calendar because my goodness. I'll check the audio first too. The Advents calendar because my goodness. Man, oh man, oh man. Advents calendar. Okay. All right. Today is the 18th of December. Let's look for that 18 on here. Oh, look at that. Jump right out at me. 18. There's my first chocolate. And it is a bell. A Christmas bell. Okay, one down. Two to go. Kinder Chocolade. Give it number 18. Where are you hiding at? There's 19, 16, 24, 18. There we go. And this one's another heart. I have to say the Kinder Chocolade is disappointing. It's always the same couple of things. And 18 on here. Oh, these are easy to find. Of course, we're getting fewer and fewer spots to pick from. So my Advents calendar has a rocking horse. There we go. There's the chocolates. That's taken care of. Merry Christmas. Frohe Weihnachten. Ja, Feliz Navidad. And Hussein Kiasvis for everyone around the world. Welcome back. Okay. All right. Good deal. All right. So we got the chocolates out of the way. And welcome back to the program, folks. Wow, the world is going back crap crazy. Not the least of which is the United States government has responded to South Africa's provocation. Yeah, let's get to that. I'm going to read that directly to you right now. If you missed my video, please watch it after this. If one of the mods could put the link up to it, get me as many views, make that go viral, please. I would appreciate that. Let people know how the U.S. government has responded. And this refutes Cockprot 24's lies, as well as some government officials lying to South Africans, to the world, about the activity that took place on the 16th of December, Geloftedag, Reconciliation Day, at the U.S. Refugee Processing Center, which has now been doxxed in Woodmead in Sandton. All right, so let's go ahead and I'll read this statement to the audience who has not seen it, so that you're aware of what the U.S. government has finally responded. And it's no threats, but just quite clear. The U.S. condemns in the strongest terms the South African government's recent detention of U.S. officials. Notice I said detention. They lied and said nobody was detained. Performing their duties to provide humanitarian support to Afrikaners. Furthermore, the public release of our U.S. officials' passport information is an unacceptable form of harassment. This can only be seen as an attempt to intimidate U.S. government personnel in South Africa on official business. The United States will not tolerate such behavior towards its government's officials or toward any of its citizens who are legally and peacefully operating abroad. The public release of personal identifying information puts the official in harm's way. Failure by the South African government to hold those responsible accountable will result in severe consequences. We call on the government of South Africa to take immediate action to bring this situation under control and hold those responsible accountable. The ball is in your court, Pretoria. The ball is in your court. Tomorrow's Friday. Friends and family only Friday. Meanwhile, Europe is going bat crap crazy. Farmer protest all over Europe. In France, in Cyprus, in Brussels. It is for different reasons. Protesting a trade deal with the U.S., protesting European caps. It is out of control, folks. Out of control. Let's take a look at that video here very quickly. This is unfolding as we speak in Brussels, right? And this one's in Brussels, another one's in France. It is. The farmers are had enough. They've had enough. That is crazy, folks. That is Brussels. My goodness, I know that square. Been there many, many times. That's the first video we have to show you. Here's another one. This one, I'm not sure it's Brussels or Paris. I have to take a look at it again very quickly. This one, I believe, is in Paris. I can't tell. It doesn't look like Brussels. But yeah, it's just coming in from all over, man. This is not going well for the Europeans and their socialist governments. Oh, that's Brussels, yeah. It's Flemish there. Yeah, that was Brussels as well. Yep, that was Flemish, not French. So that must have been Brussels too. It's just going crazy all over Europe, folks. Farmers block roads in Brussels, protests a South American free trade deal. A stone's throw from the European Parliament building, farmers threw potatoes and eggs in protest. Farmers and tractors block roads, threw potatoes and eggs, and set off fireworks in Brussels yesterday outside a European Union leaders summit, prompting police to respond with tear gas and water cannons as protesters rallied against a major free trade deal with South American nations. Thousands of farmers expected twin rallies by the farmers' unions set for Luxembourg, Luxembourg, a stone's throw of European Parliament. Also on the agenda of the EU summit, a proposal to seize Russian assets for use by Ukraine. Tractors clog Brussels in protest of planned Mercosur deal with South America. We're here to say no to Mercosur. Belgian dairy farmer Maxime Mahil said, it's like Europe has become a dictatorship. He said, accusing European Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen of seeking to force the deal through. Farm lobby Copa Coquega said 10,000 protesters were expected to demonstrate in the capital of the European quarter where the Mercosur deal loomed large over the EU summit. More than 150 tractors clogged the streets of Brussels on Thursday morning, with many more expected, and that's the footage I showed you. Farmers, particularly in France, worry that the deal will see them undercut by a flow of cheaper goods from agricultural giant Brazil and its neighbors. Wow. French farmers' ire over cattle cull leads to block roads and likely delay for the Mercosur deal. They're culling their cattle now, too. French farmers are driving opposition to a massive transatlantic trade deal between 5 South American nations and a 27-bloc European Union. And in Cyprus, the Cypriots are also protesting, taking to the streets to fight EU farm cuts. Farmers from across Cyprus marched to the presidential palace today in a show of force that is loud as it was determined. They delivered a resolution demanding urgent attention to the pressures facing agriculture before proceeding to the House of Europe to hand letters to the presidents of the European Commission and European Parliament. The protest was part of a wider pan-European mobilization. Wow, this is, man, the world is crazy. It's upside down. It is crazy. Yes, let them eat cake. Folks, let's get back to the lead story here about the United States' response to South Africa's provocations. Any comments by any of my viewers in there before we go any further, because that story could eat up all of our time. A note, I will be leaving this stream in approximately an hour and 15 minutes, if we're still broadcasting, to appear on Bosparat, on Vena Dutoy's program. So I'll be there, and I'll be talking about what's going on. So, yeah. I was also supposed to appear on Willem Petzer's program today, but he never got back with me, and this is breaking news. I'm not going to sit around and wait for that call. So I'm looking to see if anybody has any comments here about this. What a crazy mad world. Anything is possible. Anything from birthing in a tree to setting life criminals free. Yep. Okay, so we've started. We covered the news and started with the news. Let's see if anybody's got. You all just saying hello to each other. That's fine. Okay. Dirk is here. Just keep a beer cold for us. Okay. I tried finding that article on media statement, but my website looks different. Cannot find it. What media statement? What are you talking about? Oh, the embassy one? Well, I'll give it to you. It's I'll put the link up for people. Hang on a second. Here's the link. If you guys, you always want to, I give the receipts. So here's the receipts. Here is the receipt for that Department of State message. Okay. You can find it there, folks. All right, so there you go. Thank you, Philip Holtz, for your membership. Appreciate that. We will listen over and over again, okay? Okay, that's the article. There he is. Will shared it. That's my video. The question is, what can those consequences entail? Well, Barbarian King, as I've said over and over again for the past 10 months, thanks, Fonz, it can entail an awful lot of things, including but not limited to SWIFT removal, SWIFT banking system removal, sanctions, targeted sanctions, travel restrictions, embargoes, ban on U.S. companies doing business in South Africa. There can be all kinds of consequences to this. It's not something that the South African government should play around with. But they're going to dig their heels in because they're just not reasonable people. They're on their propaganda campaign lying about it already, getting their willing lapdogs in News 24 to run out there and tell lies. It will not target us even more so. It's very scary. Now target, I think Helen's trying to say. Maybe Schreiber's sleeping over at Cyril's house tonight. It could be. Could be. Pray for me. I've sent so many to this channel and educate so many with the Colonel's truth. Thank you, Ludwig. I hope it pays off, people. Doxing is taken very seriously. It should be taken very seriously. Trump must make an example of the ANC, says one of my viewers. The South African government has been lying through their teeth since Tuesday. They will never admit they have been. You're right, Khashoggi. Yep. And a Brussels bry. Yeah. Yes. Friends and Family Only Friday is right around the corner. Yep. What happened to the whole global warming business? Charmaine, that's a good question. Yeah, and they're also protesting in England. I can't wait to see. They'll be protesting in Berlin, no doubt, too. Looks like a normal South African protest, I suppose. Looks like just another day in South Africa. Let them eat cake. No wonder the EU wants to put X on censorship. Of course, because it reveals the truth. Let's see what else we got here in the chat here before we continue with American officer experience firsthand the Gestapo tactics. Yep. So if they were detained, that's a proper infringement of their diplomatic immunity. Ramifications should be immediate from the U.S. Even if they didn't have diplomatic protections, detaining an American on official business is a serious diplomatic incident. So they're going to try and say they don't have diplomatic immunity, which may be possible because they may just be Americans on official business. But they were on official business. And the point about this all is the Southern government knew what this activity was. The U.S. government didn't hide it from them. This is not news. They decided to do this on a national holiday, a day which they pretended to care about unity and Ubuntu when they held an event with President Ramaphosa talking about the spirit of unity, and Gate McKenzie was busy there licking the boots of Cyril Ramaphosa. My president, oh, Amanda, away. And when Gate McKenzie was busy licking his boots, then Ramaphosa gets up, and I look at the crowd, and there's one white South African in the crowd. One. No, it wasn't Tani Pat. She's colored. Behind her was a white woman. One white South African. While they bring out the Zulu impies of obese, overweight, poorly dressed, bad marching, poorly singing Zulu warriors, and they try to hail the Zulu asshat handing. They got slaughtered. They got slaughtered at Blood River because their tactics were flawed. And the Trek Board, 464 Trek Board, defeated them massively. Just admit it. I mean, you know, people can admit that at Isan Lawana, the Brits had their hat handed to them by the Zulu with superior tactics. In that case, the Zulu had much superior tactics. Every time the British raised to fire a volley, the Zulu impies would drop to the ground. The bullets went over their head for the most part. Yeah, much better tactics. News 24 just put up a reply. Let's see what they've got to say. Now, we'll see if they're a real news organization or they're just peddling nonsense. Oh, there it is. No, they didn't say arrest. No one said arrest. The United States government threatened South Africa with severe consequences following a raid at refugee processing center that led to the arrest of Kenyan nationals. Oh, okay. Yeah, but see, it's not that. It's about U.S. officials. There it is. Okay. So that's not news. That's just copying and pasting. That's all. There you go. They take a photograph from a previous story. They take the entire text from the statement and they redo it. Now, see, the difference between Cockprat24 and Chris Wyatt is that I gave you context. I prefaced the reading of the statement with context. I commented about the context, about the incorrect statements and about the correct statements and about how the media lied. And then I gave you an analysis afterwards. They just give you the news. That's their job to report the news. But there's no context. They just, anyway, so whatever. Cockprat24, what do you want? That's what you expect from them. Anyway. Christy DuPoint, thank you for the 14 Rand. You're very welcome. Then the Southern government goes and lies about the incident, just dumb enough to think anyone will believe me. Yep. Do you think AI such grok and chat provides? No, I don't think they provide fair. It's impossible for those actors to provide fair and unbalanced because they are programmed by human beings who have innate bias. And if they admit their bias, if they come out and said this chat bot is written by largely right-of-center conservatives whose worldview affects the results. If they said that, it might have more degree of plausibility and believability. Sue Marie says we're going to wait forever. That's exactly why the EU is gunning for Elon and X. It's hard to hide real, live news when everyone is a report on the ground in real time. Exactly, Charmaine. And see, it's all backfired. Jack Dorsey and the leftist hate wankers, they loved X when they could censor conservatives and they could spew all their hatred and racism, bigotry against whites, Christians, and males. They love that. But now that it's a platform where everybody can insult everybody, they don't like it. Hannes Olafia says he's going to sleep at the airport. Oh, that's going to be a long time there. So ding ding, round one. Lock up whoever docks you as fish or face severe consequences. Yep. Psycho Billy. Yep. There are so many hot koipas they could be classified as government hemorrhoids. Thank you, Colonel, for everything. Merry Christmas to you. God bless. So the U.S. asked for someone to be held responsible. Wonder who will be the fall guy. Yeah, exactly. Who will be the fall guy? What can happen to the person posted their passport? Well, they should be in prison. That's what should happen to them. Ramaphosa needs to fire Leon Shriver and his henchmen involved in the raid. Yep. How long before those EU imports start doing their farmers? Okay. Okay. If we are at a pre-screening and that happens again, do we have to show our documents to them? If you're a South African citizen, you have to show your documents to immigration if they ask for it. It's the law, as far as I know. I would not tell you to disobey the law. You should follow the law. If a government official who has the authority to ask for such things asks you for them, you have to produce them. As far as I know. Yep. Oh, he says the last day you'll hold the day of the vow. Yeah, see, he talks about Ubuntu. It's nothing. It's a bunch of nonsense. See, Gabe McKenzie was anti-black when he was colored. Now he's anti-white when he's Cyril's boy. The guy can't make up his mind what he is. Now, the U.S. soldiers and civilians were killed before that happened in Syria. Yes, Johan Peach, the events that happened this week will have an impact on the refugee program. For instance, the Woodmead Center, I don't see how the U.S. government could possibly use it going forward. News 24 ran an immoral, dangerous, and they've been reported to the press ombudsman, by the way. I can confirm that there's at least one complaint filed with the press ombudsman about News 24's report, doxing the Woodmead location, doxing the process, telling people the times of day they're supposed to be there, putting a big target on the backs of anyone who went there, including the employees, the security guards, the U.S. diplomats, no longer Kenyans, they're not there. This is irresponsible. It's not journalism. It is pure misuse of the Fourth Estate. Newsroom 24 must be held accountable for this. And quite frankly, I'm not talking about, an apology. I'm talking about financial damages, severe financial damages for the harm they've done, the harm they've caused. The lease of that site can no longer be maintained by the U.S. government. They're clearly going to have to go somewhere else because now anyone that shows up there is in danger. And for the exact same reason why I told people to keep their mouths shut. Not from the South African government, no. They're in danger, ladies and gentlemen, from malign actors. And malign actors like the media, like News 24, who just told everybody who has a problem with South Africans leaving South Africa where to go, when to go, the date that they resume at that location, the times of day you can go there to harm them. What other purpose will they have? That's not investigative journalism. That's an intentional effort to harm people. It can be nothing else. There's no public good in reporting that information. How about a public good in telling us the current state of the Pala Pala investigation? The Vereda Dairy Farm scandal. Zandile Gumeda's 168 counts of fraud. Can we get an update on that? Can we have an investigative journalism into that? Exactly. South African authorities never work on a public holiday. Never work on a public holiday. The only people working on a public holiday is aviation security, border patrol, and the military. That's it. No one else is working. Yet Home Affairs goes. See, this is the dumb thing. If they'd done it on the 15th, they might have been able to argue that it was legitimate. The fact that they did it on a national holiday and they didn't do it anywhere else proves it's all just poppycock. They think people are very stupid. The bottom line is they're just very arrogant. Just strange that it's only the Colonel's channel. Okay, no problem then. What's the problem, Bex? Bex said something here. What did Bex say? What is that username? Maniga. What is that? You're going to get blocked here. That doesn't look like an appropriate sort of thing. All right. What's this question here? There's nothing wrong with my microphone. There's nothing wrong with my microphone. You hear that? There's nothing wrong with my microphone. You hear that? No, it's not my microphone. You're wrong. It's suppression. It's not my microphone. I just recorded a video. It's perfectly fine. I'm talking perfectly fine. I'll disconnect it and reconnect it. But I can hear myself without turning the volume up, and it peaks out on the meter. So it's not on this end. Someone is interfering with my broadcast. And now there's no sound. See? And now, okay, there is sound. See? Okay, there's now, it's fine. Microphone's fine. Sound. See? I don't know what to tell you guys. Okay. Is it better? Are you getting better? Okay. Hey, Yolan, what's going on? Okay. Yeah, see, all these people say volume is fine. Just asking if the U.S. government rent any property, does it automatically become consulate property? No, it doesn't. It doesn't, but it's not a question of property. It's a question of the activity and the status of the individuals. If I'm diplomatically accredited, I have diplomatic license plates and a diplomatic passport, and my credentials have been accepted by the government, I have diplomatic immunity. Now, there's different levels. Not everybody has the same protection. I think there was a government official who spoke on television last night, and he was correct, a South African official, saying not everybody has the same protections. But the point is the activity was a U.S. Embassy-sponsored event undergoing diplomatic events on behalf of the U.S. Embassy. The people present there have those protections in that role, and that's the bottom line, okay? We have to go back for something that they still need from us. Now we have to wait patiently for news to where... You're right, Vanessa, you'll have to wait. Hannes, okay, was there Tuesday, if there were Kenyans, why were the pictures taken on our car registration? Exactly. Why were white South Africans forced to produce documentation when they're looking for Kenyans? See, it doesn't wash. Why did they take photographs inside the building? The photographs aren't Kenyans. They're walls and they're pictures. Waste my time watching everyday news. Okay, thank you, expats. Pen. What is this? Come on. Where are we at here? In fact, Southern can do something like this and blatantly lie about it, just prove that they're doing all along. They do whatever they want and just lie about it. And also proves that there's political persecution. Political persecution. Lectures from Lamol and Fikele about the U.S. while a docs U.S. official gets ignored. Yeah. Yep. Clown behavior. Exactly right, Heinrich. People should stop talking about the program and stop sharing confidential. Well, people should stop sharing confidential information. Exactly. But not people should stop talking about the program. No, people shouldn't stop talking about the program. Remember 5 November? No. Remember 5 November? No. Remember the 5th November? Yeah, the gunpowder plot? No. People shouldn't stop talking about the program. Many people don't even know it exists. People have to talk about it. Someone interference considering the raid they did, I wouldn't be surprised if they want to start online suppression. Do you think President Trump is still personally responding to the raid incident? Well, I think the U.S. is going to respond. There has to be a response. You cannot have this provocation without a response. Travel agents, what's the people's problem with the sound? Yeah, exactly. Did they only do that raid for the day? No, it was the only raid they did. Well, that's a question. First question I ask him on Funstaten. First question I ask, how many raids did Home Affairs do on Reconciliation Day across the country? How many Zama Zama locations? How many tuck shops in Alexandria? How many spaza shops did they raid? How many Mozambicans and Congolese and Ethiopians and Somalis did they round up and deport that day? How many? How many? Stream numbers looking good. Well, I hope they are. Okay. Okay. Check your sound. Nothing wrong, Colonel Sound. Exactly. You see Fred, the bodyguard, video of him being turned away at the U.S. border. They didn't even give his phones back. He's a good man. It was quite shocking. I have no idea who is Fred. Who is Fred, the bodyguard? Hey, Erica. Ramp up hours block, then it might be an option. You say to fly them out processing. You say, no, it's not an option. We can't do that. We'd have to make some kind of exception. I'll tell you what they could do. You want to know what they can do? You're not going to like the sound of this. But they could fly South Africans to Guantanamo Bay. I mean, you can't bring them on U.S. soil. They haven't been vetted. This is not the Biden regime. We're not letting people that we can't ascertain the veracity of who they are and what they're all about. We're not going to let you pour into the country because of their actions. So if a neighboring country would take them, then they can go there. Otherwise, you have to fly them, Gitmo, man. Cyril Schreiber would just say the U.S. got their facts wrong and they had all legal authority to do what they did. So the officials lied about what happened. Don't believe that for a second. Well, they can say what they want to say, but the bottom line here is that they might find themselves facing International Court of Justice case. Would this be ironic? United States takes South African International Court of Justice for violation of the Vienna Conventions after they've spent all this energy and wasted money having lawyers a fruitless case against Israel. Yep. Scheduled interviews will proceed. Yes, Rising Phoenix, they will proceed, but they're not going on right now. They were going on hiatus for the holidays because the people were sent over there for 90 days. Yep. All right. Home Affairs bypassed 30 illegals to focus on arresting 7 Kenyans. Exactly. Home Affairs is so lazy they never do anything. Had many cases against them. They never respond. They barely do the job they're supposed to, and they organize the raid. Exactly. Exactly. Something they did, obviously oblivious of is that there are cameras at every corner of the sites. Are they that dumb? Yeah, well, I'm sure that we've got the information. Somebody said, I'll go to Gitmo. Yes, the site is compromised, Laverne. That was my point. I don't see how they could possibly continue doing it there. Well, that's why I told people to shut up and not talk about it. Not because I'm worried about South African government, but because of malicious actors. Malign actors. They passed thousands of illegals to get to 7 Kenyans. Michael Ruiz, Gitmo any day over Joburg. 40 Rand. Thank you for the 40 Rand. Gitmo any day over South Africa. What about taking people to Namibia or Botswana? Well, they have to agree to it. They have to agree to it. They did a holiday to earn overtime. Ah, that's what it was. Did you see the speech by a president where he admitted they weren't working? No, I didn't see any speech where he admitted. Was his speech on Reconciliation Day? I haven't watched it yet. I only saw parts of it. I tried to play it here, and then people were like, oh, turn it off, turn it off. So I turned it off. Small detail people seem to miss. The guards when he was Bidvest company, listen, which, yeah, exactly. Well, I didn't miss it. I asked the question, who are the guards? Were the G4S? I didn't know when got me an answer. So it's unfortunate that due to gross negligence, corruption, and purity, our government and the cronies, we will be suffering the effects. My first ID I got from Home Affairs had someone else's photo on it. I can believe that. If we skip the waterboarding section of the tour, we'll have no problem with Gitmo. I can't promise you that. Rebel refugee. We need the army merch. Well, I'm working on it, guys. How about the 520 illegals that they have passports of from Zimbabwe? I don't know about that. Gitmo's the same as an Army 10 in Okangola. What's that? Good day, Mike. What's going on? DA or spineless? Yes, Garrett. No response from the DA. No response. All right, folks, let's get on to it. So if you're just tuning in, I'm going to read this again, then I'm going to move on with the news. The United States government has responded to the unwarranted diplomatic provocation that occurred at the Refugee Processing Center in Woodmead, which was later doxxed by the irresponsible media house Media 24, its platform News 24, doxing location, the methods and procedures of people coming to the times and the date that it will resume, endangering the safety of South Africans with total disregard, blatant disregard for the safety of the public. News 24 is a rogue organization that must be brought to heel. Doxing and harassment of American officials by the South African government. The U.S. condemns in the strongest terms the South African government's recent detention of U.S. officials performing their duties to provide humanitarian support to Afrikaners. Furthermore, the public release of our U.S. officials' passports information is an unacceptable form of harassment. This can only be seen as an attempt to intimidate U.S. government personnel in South Africa on official business. The United States will not tolerate such behavior toward its government officials or toward any of its citizens who are legally and peacefully operating abroad. The public release of personal identifying information puts the official in harm's way. Failure by the South African government to hold those responsible accountable will result in severe consequences. We call on the government of South Africa to take immediate action to bring this situation under control and hold those responsible accountable. Now, what I will share with you is what the government of South Africa did. Now, they can try to claim someone rogue was responsible for this, and maybe that's the case. But the bottom line is they're responsible for this disclosure. They're responsible for putting the life of an American citizen in jeopardy through their reckless behavior. That is the government of South Africa, by making copies of passports illegitimately of a U.S. government official, and then someone working for the South African government, clearly, or someone in the South African government, shared this online. Okay, that's becoming quite annoying. I have to turn that off. Okay. How many is that? 50? We can't sit here and lift up 50 things. It's going to drive people crazy. All right, so, okay, so here we go. This is what was released. This is released by multiple people online, and you can see that I'm a responsible journalist. I've actually covered up all the identifying information, the passport number, the place of birth, the surname and given name, the photograph of the person, as well as the hole punch, which could identify the passport, and the date at the bottom. This is a U.S. passport. If you look carefully in the top image, you'll see the bearer is abroad on an official assignment for the United States government. This is an official of the U.S. government. This person's passport was seized and photographed like this, and this person was working at the venue. Yeah, it was not even covered. No, it was covered by me, Alabala. You've got to watch my content. Stop watching fake news. I reported on this. I broke this story about this. The U.S. government did not know about this. I'm the one that told them about this because one of my viewers found that. One of my viewers found it as it was going viral on the internet, and I told the U.S. government, and that's why they had this release out today. So let me explain what happened. That person, I've verified, is a U.S. government employee, works for a part of the executive branch, and is responsible for activities involved with the refugees. That person is not a Kenyan. That person, apparently the Home Affairs officials are dumb or just racist, okay? Yes, but there are many other accounts that pushed it too. So that person is a person born in Africa who's a naturalized American citizen, a U.S. veteran from the U.S. Army, and works for the U.S. government. I went through his social media accounts. He's a published author as well. And that person has had their identity compromised now and their life put in jeopardy by this irresponsible behavior by the South African government. And they can sit there and say, well, we didn't release it. It doesn't matter. You had no business copying that passport and letting it fall into the hands of someone who did share it. You are responsible. And if I were that individual, if it's possible to sue the government of South Africa, I would find a lawyer and I would do it because they have put him in grave danger, grave danger. And the fact that the media in South Africa have not even covered this story, have not even talked about it. They've mentioned what the U.S. government says in their statement, but they don't even go to the story. It is not hard to do, not hard to find. This is a reprehensible act. It's a clear abrogation of the Vienna Conventions, diplomatic immunities and protections. It is also a violation of South Africa's Poppy Act, and it is unbelievable. Gixxer, it doesn't matter. I found it on half a dozen other accounts. One account with 460,000 subscribers. 460,000 subscribers. Heidi, you're way behind. I had a haircut 2 weeks ago. Yes, this is unbelievable. How did they get a hold of it? Well, an official from Home Affairs obviously provided, or the people sharing it initially were Home Affairs officials. We don't know. No, there's no excuse. The South African government did not get your refugee info. Relax. They did not get it. You relax. And that guy wasn't too slow. He was ensuring that refugees were safe. And that's why that happened. All right, we've covered the farmer story. So here is the irresponsible journalism by News 24. Afrikaner genocide on hold for Christmas. Want to talk about a snarky asshat response? Afrikaner genocide on hold for Christmas. Alex Patrick, did you write that title, or was that your editor, Adrian Basson, who wrote that disgusting and vile comment? First off, let's cover this again. The basis for coming to America as a refugee from South Africa has nothing to do with genocide. You can quit lying about that. How many times do we have to tell you that it's not about genocide? It's about unjust racial persecution. And now, after the unwarranted raid on a public holiday of a U.S. immigration refugee processing site where U.S. diplomats were working, now we can tell clearly, without a doubt, it's not just racial persecution, it's political persecution. The South African government is committing political persecution against racial minorities, and they put it on display for the whole world to see. For anyone who's a cogent, lucid, rational, reasonable person, they will see that. So this irresponsible article doxes. I'm going to go ahead and share it because you can read it online, and it's pretty much made the site that's in use null and void. You can no longer use the site. It's impossible to use the site now because of what they did. They put lives in jeopardy. So I'm simply stating what's out there in the open. It's too late to put this genie back in the bottle. With the government official, I was able to report those accounts to X, and others reported them as well as reporting it to the U.S. government. I reported that to the U.S. government that those accounts were doing that, which is an illegal act, and that account, he didn't take it down. Twitter took his account down, the one you're talking about, his post. Meanwhile, this story here, with the official, you could see I could cover up the data and still report and show you the receipts so you don't think it's just made up. I showed you that, so you can see that. I'm not going to go to the Twitter accounts where it's still posted and show you his information. That's irresponsible because he still needs protection. This is a situation where there's nothing I can do about this. It's in the media and it's doxed. So I'm just going to read this to you, okay? Okay, closed for Christmas was the official line given at the makeshift Santon Afrikaner, in quotes, Refugee Immigration Center, where News 24 visited on Wednesday. Phoenix, thank you, Colonel, for always keeping us updated with the truth. Without you, we would be in the dark. You're very welcome, Phoenix. I wish 10,000 people were here watching right now instead of 1,100, but thank you all for being here. This was after the Woodmead office was raided and 7 Kenyan nationals found to be working there illegally while under a 90-day tourist visa. Now, what have I said? I've said since the beginning, Johannesburg. Never said Woodmead. That site has been open since August, and I never once disclosed that because I'm concerned about malicious actors, malevolent actors trying to harm people who go there, and the refugee applicants, the guards that work there, the staff at the facility, as well as American diplomats. But look at this. News 24 can't wait to tell people it's in Woodmead. Irresponsible. The 7 were working for Christian World Service. No, see, lazy Alex Patrick. You're lazy. There's no Christian World Service. It's Church World Service. Church World Service. You see how that is? I've been reporting ever since Church World Service was brought on board approximately 7 months ago that it's Church World Service. What is their problem? Why is it so difficult for them to actually do basic research? See, this is why you can't trust this. It's not even a real newspaper. These are just people that sit around, and I assume they eat biltong and drink lattes and just sit there and make shit up. Christian World Service. That's not a small error. I mean, I could see someone make an error, but that's the exact same line that was repeated in the previous News 24 story. All they did was cut and paste the story and put it in there. Can anybody comment on what I'm saying here? Can anybody comment? Do you agree with me? That's just lazy. I have no idea who Fred the bodyguard is. And it's not germane to what we're doing here. News 20. So the center is focused solely on relocating Afrikaners after President Donald Trump's unsubstantiated claims that the white Afrikaans community are being persecuted in South Africa. Well, this is listed under news. See this here? It's the news section. News, right there. News 24, news. Alex Patrick, a journalist who is now using opinion, unsubstantiated claims. And that's not a substantiated. That's your opinion. That's not a fact. On Wednesday, they were issued deportation orders. Home Affairs Leanne Schreiber confirmed they had self-deported. News 24 found an advert on Property 24 for 2,226 square meters of commercial property off Kelvin Drive. It was advertised by the Galetti Corporate Real Estate. 311,000 Rand per month rent. The makeshift processing center was empty when they visited on Wednesday. Guards said the center was closed for Christmas and would reopen on 12 January to continue processing Afrikaners who had received an email invitation from CWS. Well, they're not processing Afrikaners, they're processing South Africans, which includes colors and Indians. Okay? The guards were charged with ensuring each potential refugee had email invite as proof before they were allowed into the premises. They were specifically instructed to look out for certain elements in the email as a fake confirmation letter was allegedly circulated. So now they're also letting people know about opportunities to disrupt the thing. News 24 has seen the email, which is sent to principal applicant for the family after an initial screening is completed. How does News 24 have a copy of one of these non-disclosure emails that you cannot share? How did that come in possession of that? It sounds to me like they're up to something shady. Once vetted by security at the gate, they're allowed entry. The email also warns that applicants should carry all documents with them as their electronics will be collected upon arrival and only returned after they leave the center. So right there, once again, all the people attacked me on my Twitter posts saying, well, where's the video? You're just a liar. No, I'm not a liar. That's exactly right there. At least News 24 tells the truth on that. While the facility apparently processed the applicants, News 24 understands that the interviews are held on a Zoom platform by an authority in Kenya. So I'm not refuting there were Kenyans present. I know there were Kenyans present. But why are you saying there's a Zoom platform and people in Kenya are doing it? So why are there Kenyans there? They don't explain that. Anyway, just unbelievable. So it goes on. So they've doxed these people. They've doxed the site. I don't know how we can use it. If not, my name can betray their emphasis. There must be a Max Dupree type troll masquerading as an applicant. Oh yeah, I'm sure of that. I've said that all along. That's what I said in my video. I talked about Ferrayas who show up there who aren't really serious about it. I'll comment on it. Maybe it's just me. There seems to have been a massive shift towards Islam, putting Christian in there plays into that negative. Keep poking the bear. Yep. You are correct as always. Southern media is corrupt, reporting paid by political parties. But again, why does anybody follow the money trail? Yeah. News 24 lazy regarding real and true journalism. If only it was gift of the givers doing the screening, there would have not been any raid. Exactly. Someone there who was part of the program that was assisting DHA. Charles, I believe you're incorrect. There was a report from one of the eyewitnesses. They didn't understand. They said a lady and a young man were talking to Home Affairs. I can confirm who that person is without disclosing their identity and tell you that that's not what was happening. They were asked questions. I know who the person is. I know the person for many months, and as far as I know, they're not complicit in working with them. That's a misinference on the part of the people who are present. Understandable under all the circumstances. So I would just let that drop. But that does not negate my point that there are Ferrayas who are doing this. In one of the WhatsApp groups for the refugees, one of my viewers recently told me about this woman who was all into the refugee program. Then all of a sudden, she says, well, I got a message from God, and I need to stay here in South Africa. And she starts bad-mouthing the program all day long in the WhatsApp groups. And she asked me if I could get one of the people to take that person out. Well, I don't run those groups. I think Hendo and Chris Wyatt will do that. That's up to them, their groups, to take people out for doing that. But that's one of those examples of a Farrier who's supposedly an Afrikaner or a Boer who is there, wants to take part in the program. They went into the program to find out the details of it so they could undermine it, and that's what's happening. I always warn people about that. That's why we have pre-screening. That's why the Kenyans are needed. That's why you don't talk to an American until they go through parts of the process. Charlie Kirk, play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. Yep. There's so much wrong with what happened. The sad part of this is not new in South Africa. Yep. Thank you, Westhouse. 14 Rand for the comment. Ferrayas. Yep. Moles pretending to be refugees. Yes, but Nafim, again, I don't even know that we can prove that. They do have that in the program, but I don't even know we can prove that. The bottom line is they didn't need them for this raid. And also, the actions of the agents on the scene belie that they had spies in there. First off, they didn't know where the Americans were. They didn't know who was a refugee, even though it's pretty obvious looking at people. They were looking for things. They had no idea where they were. I mean, if I had had an inside source as to what was going on there since August, I would have known exactly where the director was, the senior diplomatic official. I would have known where their cars are parked, how I can block them, get them out of there. I would have known where this so-called register is located, how to get hold of it. I would have been able to get into the building as an undercover agent, posing a refugee, and ensure that I snarfed up the laptops as the raid began. See, guys, you have to think this through. You keep talking about it spies. Perhaps they had spies, but the spies are either not very effective or the spies are unnecessary because they clearly didn't know what they were doing this raid. And we heard them saying all kinds of things. This was meant to be an intimidation tactic, and that's exactly what it is. It was meant to intimidate people, and that's what it did. It frightened people. And let me just tell South Africans this. Whether you're a Tswana, a Venda, a Zulu, a Xhosa, a Khoi, a San, an Afrikaner, Portuguese, German, Huguenot, whatever you are, do not be intimidated by the actions of your government. Do not fear your government. Tyrants fall. Tyrants fall the world over. Nicolas Maduro will soon be history in Venezuela. His people will overthrow him very soon. And it won't be nonviolent. They've tried nonviolence. Tyrants do not last. This sort of behavior will not be accepted by people. And it's a shame because it means bloodshed and people will die. And we don't want to see that. Yeah, you talk about so much, even your kids know it's church world service. Yep. Yep. All right. I firmly believe NC wants to see the minority groups impoverished and starved to death. Well, that's called racial revenge, which is what Marco Rubio talked about. That comment on moles was prior to you mentioning knowing the person. Okay, that's cool. No, Neff, it's fine. It's fine. I'm behind in the chat. No, but you're onto something. There are moles, and I said it from the very beginning. I said there will always be people who betray you. There will be people who falsely express interest in this program to find out the details of how it's run so they can narc on people and so they can undermine the program. I said that. But the person that was at that venue that day in the fingerprint room is not one of them, to my knowledge. U.S. Embassy should check the racist remarks made on their ex-posts about the doxing. Yeah, what are they going to do about that? Why would the U.S. let the same people that hate Afrikaners do screening for the program? The NC just proved why they need outsiders. Exactly, Charmaine. Thank you for 35 rand. Clouds are gathering. Let me turn back on the alert thing in case somebody does any super chats. Yeah, you get credit for it. Bucks aren't playing for another 7 months. Trump needs to keep us entertained. That's good. Only 600 likes? Come on, guys. Let's hit the like button. Who will throw who under the bus? Yes, somebody's going to get thrown under the bus, or they're going to ignore it at their own peril. Yep. It's part of the arrogance. Exactly, Rudolph. We are not scared to fight, says Eugene. It's not about that. It's a deep hate and vengeance against us. They do not want you to leave. They want you to suffer. Exactly. Trump going to impose personal sanctions against, I don't think all politicians, but Gary Hall, I think that something's coming, especially if this isn't dealt with. But the South African government can easily, avoid those things. All they have to do is find a fall guy and say this person was inappropriate, they've been fired, and of course they'll just bring them on. They fire them from the national, and then they'll appoint them to a provincial legislature like KZN. Quietly put them like Zandile Gumeda, put them on a payroll. Basilic says, I love how the ruling parties do exactly what was mentioned in the White House. Yep, exactly. We're not persecuting anybody. Really? Snippets, if huge numbers leave, our country collapses. Yes, that's the problem. That's what they're worried about now. My 15-year-old was not intimidated by the Border Patrol. Well said, Ananda. It's sad that South Africans are sabotaging fellow South Africans knowing full what's really happening. Well, that's always been the history of South Africa, hasn't it? Ferreiras have always been in your midst. I've said it many, many times, and people laugh when I say it. I said, get 10 Afrikaners in a room, you get 12 leaders. Everybody has to be in charge. Get 10 Afrikaners in a room, you get 20 plans of action. Not a single one will be followed through. Get 10 Afrikaners in a room, and 2 of them will betray you to the English, or in this case, the ANC. Yes, Ingrid, they have given the refugee program free advertisement. They've also exposed the German government, the Chinese government, and everyone else that was inclined to not believe the truth that the South African government is executing political persecution. Just in case you would still like to ask Leon Schreiber for feedback and still might be looking for contact, I did send you. Thank you for that, Alana. I saw it, but I haven't had time. What else we got here? Professor D posted South Africa, get ready. We'll watch later. Listen to the news here. Okay. It's crazy to watch a relative first world country fall into a state as a rogue nation. Colonel, you need to do a master class on the fall of South Africa. Yeah, that's a good point. Did you see the news on additional 7 Islamic extremists that were arrested on their way to... I did not see that, Neff. That's a new one. Fall Guy strategies worked for too long across many countries. Yep. This is Germany 1931. I think this is Germany 1934 already. We're already at that stage. Yep. So the Schlange Commission report has been sent to President Ramaphosa. Of course, it is secret. Now, I'm actually not going to criticize the interim report being secret. It makes sense. But I bet you the final report will probably be heavily redacted or will also be secret. And it really doesn't matter because Ramaphosa isn't going to take action against these criminals. I mean, they're part and parcel of his regime. President Ramaphosa has received the long-awaited interim report from the Schlange Commission. Presidential spokesperson Vincent Magwenya said that the president would study the interim findings while the commission goes into recess to prepare for further hearings. He's expressed his appreciation for the interim report as well as his expectation the commission will, as part of its terms of reference, refer actions thought to be criminal acts for prosecution. But don't expect anybody to be prosecuted. Well, that's my question, Hart. What Kenyans were detained? No Kenyans on the side of any of our interviews. I don't know, Hart. That's the whole thing that puzzled me. So I've always had conflicting information about Kenyans. People misspeak. They write things in the chat. People contact me on WhatsApp. They don't express themselves fully. And I've never been certain that they're actually Kenyans on the ground. And I warned in August. Those who know my channel, those who were here, go back. You were here last night when I said this in August, when the South African government said that they would not approve work visas for the Kenyans to come there and do humanitarian work. They said they're not going to do it. And I said, well, then I guess they can't go. And somebody said, what are they going to do? I said, well, then I guess African Americans. Because if they have the Kenyans there without a work visa, they could run into trouble. And the only way they could work in Kenya, in South Africa, would be as a volunteer. They come as a tourist and work as, I said this in August, long before these so-called experts are digging this information out now. I said they could work as a volunteer, but that's going to be dodgy because I didn't know the law said you could get a stipend to pay for food and housing, which it does turn out, but I didn't know the time, so now I know that. But yeah, they're perfectly fine. It could have done. Monica Vergemont, thank you for the 70 Rand. Yep. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why Kenyans had to be there. Must be honest. Does anybody still actually give craps about these commissions? Nope. Wonder what would have been their excuse if they didn't find a single Kenyan. Wouldn't that have been interesting? Well, they tried to prove a Kenyan. They had an American citizen naturalized, born in West Africa, who was a diplomat, who they tried to pretend was a Kenyan. They put his personal details all over the internet with American passport. Do you think the vast majority of South Africans viewing the U.S. stance as South Africa as hostile? This gives ANC a platform. Maybe. This time, the world is watching that report. We'll see, Krista. It's going to be in a sofa in Cyril's house. Welcome to Completion Journalism. This is South Africa. A gray man, welcome to you. Please don't talk in all caps. Yes, if you use all caps, your message will be deleted. Okay? All right. Pinnacle showcased the world 36 years ago. Now we're the worst country by all means. Well done, South African government. Yep. The Friars are already whispering sweet talk speech to the government to take the heat off them. Can't wait for the DA to get kicked out of the ministry positions. They've proved they don't care for their voters. Leon Schreiber being one of them, says Mr. Crocomo. Yep. Was that the only venue being used? No, Brandon. They're doing interviews at least 3 locations we've confirmed: in Cape Town, in Joburg, and in Pretoria. So don't think there was no Kenyans where I was. The lady Lyko was U.S. lady with an African accent. The Kenyan people were very well spoken English. Yeah, that's the thing. This guy would have had a French accent having grown up in Francophone Africa. But I guess he's black, and so he must be a Kenyan. Stupid people. Yep. Not to share anything, but when I went for there were no Kenyans. Exactly. That's why I'm confused by the whole thing. But there were Kenyans there. I can confirm there were Kenyans there on this day. There were Kenyans there. Yep. Yeah, Schreiber needs to explain why he couldn't just call the embassy to sort it out. Exactly. Crazy. The poster on X says whites do as they please when the passport he shares is an African-American passport. They blame whites for everything. Well, no, it's a naturalized American from West Africa. Yep. All right. So Ramaphosa and Mshlanga. So why did the U.S. or South African government raid a site processing U.S.-bound refugees? This is from Rebecca Davies. She says, talking about the story. She says back in August, she talked about the visas for 30 Kenyans to come there who are applying. Once again, Rebecca Davis proves that she's not legitimate by putting refugee in quotes. Notice that they don't talk about people from the Congo coming to South Africa as refugees with quotes. Anyway, she does get it correct there. Rebecca Davis does her research better. Church World Service. But it's not out of Nairobi, the Resettlement Center. Yeah, so this is correct. Rebecca Davis gets that correct. Yep, they reported July 30th they were trying to get volunteer visas. Yep, so she's got that correct. But down here, it gets a little interesting. Social media is awash with theories that this is an attempt to sabotage refugee programs. Is there any truth to this? Colonel Chris Wyatt, a retired U.S. Army official who is inexplicably invested in the Afrikaner refugee program. No, I'm not. Rebecca Davis, that's fake news. I'm not invested in any refugee program, let alone a non-existent Afrikaner refugee program. President Trump has created a program for South Africans, not for Afrikaners. So I'm not invested inexplicably in anything. You just don't understand because you're too lazy to contact me. Rebecca Davis has never attempted to contact me. By the way, I have spoken to journalists at Daily Maverick. I have been a source for some of their stories, but Rebecca Davis has no interest in talking to me. Do you want the truth? She can't handle the truth. Yeah, but at least she got my title right this time and didn't just call me some YouTuber. Yep. And she said that posted a video on his social media channels which seemed to insinuate that the real purpose of the raid was to gather information about the refugee applicants and intimidate them from applying. Yep. And the U.S. government today has said that. So she says there's no evidence this is the case. Oh, there is. There is, sweetheart. Go tell it to your wife, Rebecca Davis. Go tell your wife the truth. I mean, have that conversation while you're having a latte. There is evidence. The U.S. government has issued a damning statement against the South African government for harassing and intimidating people. They just did it today. They just did it today. Yep. So there you go. Now here's another one, folks. The Pretoria High School girls lost their appeal on the racism report ruling. Pretoria High School for Girls school governing body suffered another legal black eye this week when it was refused leave to appeal the dismissal of its bid for access to a 2024 investigative report on claims of racism in the school. It was found that it was not an appealable decision, that the appeal did not have reasonable prospects of success. Now, of course, what happened is Panyaza Lesufi's racist committee wrote a bogus report in which they falsely claimed that this school had committed racism, and it put the principal at risk and her life at risk and her employment at risk, and the girls were immediately removed from their roles as prefects and demonized at the school for an action that was created by black students. The black students precipitated this crisis, caused this problem, targeted the white students, and this played out in the press and in a commission run by Panyaza Lesufi. This is the hazard of turning over control of local school districts to provincial officials, which is exactly what the Bella Bill does. This is unacceptable. And the fact that they can't see the report is bullshit. It should matter public record. They should do a Poppy Act request or whatever, like a FOIA equivalent. Yes, you're right, not Happy Camper. I am in her head, that's for sure. Well, eThekwini Durban has lost, a sewer crisis court case to the Democratic Alliance. Yep. Look at how disgusting that water is. Ugh. The eThekwini municipality has been ordered by the Peter Maritzburg High Court to take urgent steps to address this long-running sewage crisis. KZN Judge Tabo Poyo Dlawati delivered the judgment on Thursday after legal action brought by Action SA and the Democratic Alliance in November of 2022 and June of 2023 over persistent pollution of rivers and beaches in the city. Two applications were heard together in July. So for 3 years, there's been a court case to get this city to stop letting poo wash up on the beach. 3 years? How many people have been infected with hepatitis and other diseases since then? My goodness. E. coli. The court ruling compels the city to take a range of measures to protect the public's right to a safe and healthy environment. 3 years. 3 years. This is not acceptable. What about an urgent interdict here? Well, a row has broke out over the city of Cape Town and its assault on Christianity. A row erupts over Cape Town's Christmas lights and Christian symbols. The city of Cape Town has denied allegations that Christian symbols were removed from this year's Adderley Street festive lights display, insisting that religious elements such as angels, Mary, and baby Jesus are still present. According to Cape Argus, this follows growing public criticism from political parties and religious groups who claim the exclusion of Christian imagery reflects a lack of transparency and cultural sensitivity. In a formal response to media inquiries, the city said the annual festive lights along Adderley Street, a tradition spanning over 5 decades, continue to feature a blend of symbols celebrating Cape Town's heritage, landscape, and diverse communities. No, it shouldn't be celebrating its heritage and its diverse communities. It's celebrating Christmas. This isn't to promote the Khoi or the Huguenots. This is to promote Christmas. And if you put anything else up, it's wrong. You have the rest of the year to do that. The ANC Youth League will bar members found guilty of corruption. Sure. That's going to happen. Not. ANC Youth League has resolved that members found guilty of corruption, gender-based violence, and other unethical conduct will be barred from holding any office in the organization. I'm sorry, folks. This is funnier than Jeff Foxworthy. Oh, yeah, sure. Here's some bad news. Nearly 1,500 motorists arrested in drunk driving crackdown. Why are you driving and drinking? Look at this idiot here. He's wearing flip-flops, driving a car. Wearing a mask, wearing flip-flops. So you're worried about your health, you wear a mask, but you're dumb enough to wear flip-flops to operate a dangerous vehicle? That's a taxi. Oh, no, it's not a taxi. I'm sorry. It's a cop car I put him in. Yeah. Unbelievable. In traffic operations aimed at curbing festive season road carnage, 1,478 drunk drivers have been arrested since December 1st. Nationwide blitz. A total of 2,719 drivers have been arrested over the period for various offenses, an 8.7% increase compared to the same period last year. The Road Traffic Management Corporation and Aware.org have embarked on a campaign under the banner Shiimoto. What the hell is this, Japanese? Shiimoto? Shiimoto. Urging motorists to leave their cars behind when drinking alcohol. Ladies and gentlemen, we go now to South Africa for the Shiimoto campaign. Shiimoto, seriously? Sounds Japanese to me. Bail denied for National Traffic Police officers charged in the killing of a Nigerian national. That's not good. 4 National Traffic Police officers charged in the murder of Nigerian national Osin Kachukwa Marcus Ono have appeared before the Clarkstor Magistrates Court on Thursday, where bail was denied. According to Northwest Police spokesman Colonel Adelaide Myberg, the officers were arrested in connection with the fatal shooting of that gentleman on the N12 in the early hours Wednesday morning. The accused police officers have been identified as Inspector Rudolph Furomo, Inspector Smunga Dladla, Inspector Kolani Dlamini, and Inspector Similani. Faced a charge of murder following an incident in which Ono was shot during a traffic operation. His vehicle was later found stalled in the middle of the road on the opposite side of the highway. Wow. It's alleged that the CISO, who was reportedly legally in South Africa, was chased by 4 traffic officers while they were conducting operations. Their firearms have been seized. And that's just reckless. Why would you shoot someone that doesn't present a danger to you? Neo says, at what point does U.S. military need to be called in a diplomat? It's not inappropriate. There are other methods to do that. There were Kenyans. I was asked for my marriage certificate again by one at Joburg in my interview. Well, Bev in Amsterdam, everyone has a different experience. I said there were Kenyans on that day. I'm not denying it. But people were there, and there were no Kenyans when they were there. So, anyway. Skulk, the soccer team would likely not even qualify with any intervention. You drive with flip-flops? Well, you're a dangerous driver. James says, I saw the replies of the majority on your ex post. It's absolutely disgusting the way people spoke to and about you. Yeah, because I reported the truth, and they don't like the truth. God bless, this T-shirt's really pissing me off. It's Woolies T-shirt. The collar won't stay up. I hate the collar coming down. Yep. I had a perfect stream when others had sound issues. The BAM Take a Lot ad. I'm sorry to hear that, Karen. Please, every Saturday the Spar and Hardee's looks like a shebeen with everyone drinking their cars in the parking lot. Yikes. It's the same as Stratton Gordon's Bay. Sewage running in the ocean, just getting worse. I didn't see that, Mara. Okay. A lot of people here drive with plakis. Well, that's not safe. No, they're not perfectly safe footwear to drive in. They're dangerous. So Peter Dutoy is attacking Kali Creel, calling him a master of disinformation. Well, that's what Peter Dutoy is. I've already exposed the fraud in his stories, the lies. Yep, and he's attacking Kali Creel. If I were Kali Creel, I would consider a lawsuit against Peter Dutoy. South Africa is now Israel's largest coal supplier. I thought you hated Israel. South Africa now is the leading coal exporter to Israel, despite accusing the government of genocide. The country has taken Colombia's former position as the South American country implemented a coal export ban in response to Israeli government actions in Gaza. South Africa's exports increased by 87% to 474,000 metric tons in 3 months to November on an annual basis. In the wake of Israel's siege of Gaza following the Hamas-led attacks, the South African government launched a high-profile case against Israel. But even as they did that, they increased their coal shipments to Israel. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. So, money, money, money. It's a rich man's game. Oh, Israelis are committing genocide. Quick, get the coal in. Don't let anybody say anything. Wow. Well, here's a letter about the nonsense going on. Letter to the editor. Facts are not propaganda. Silencing verification is. This is from Ariel Seidman, the charge d'affaires at the Embassy of Israel in South Africa, in response to an opinion article written by Fatima Musa, arguing that condemning fact-finding visits while claiming to defend accountability creates a circular logic that undermines South African sovereignty by assuming citizens cannot make independent judgments based on first-hand observation. The most striking contradiction in Fatima Musa's opinion piece, Daliendebo and the sponsored junkets to threaten South Africa's sovereignty, is not the hostility towards Israel, but its rejection of the very principle she claims to defend. Accountability grounded in facts. The article condemns South Africans who visit Israel on so-called propaganda trips, while simultaneously insisting that anyone who goes, sees, and reports observations that contradict a predetermined narrative is either corrupt, compromised, or lying. That is not moral clarity. That is ideological gatekeeping. Spot on. If the situation is as self-evident as the author claims, then scrutiny should be welcomed, not attacked. Yet the piece makes clear that verification itself is unacceptable. Seeing Israel firsthand is framed as complicity. Disagreeing with the author's conclusions is treated as proof of bad faith. This is a circular argument. Only those who already agree are considered credible. Yeah, so she's just a fraud. Charmaine, so basically South African government waited 2 weeks for the Kenyans to arrive just to raid the process center and Jewish paid for. No, they've been there since August, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure. They didn't wait 2 weeks. But they wait until a holiday, intentionally. They waited for a holiday. An overloaded bus to Malawi, 52 extra passengers. My goodness. Police arrest the bus driver trying to escape overcrowding charge. A cross-border bus driver has been arrested after attempting to flee when he was intercepted for overloading. The Mpopo spokesperson for Transport and Community Safety, Matombe Moreme Tautsosolo, said the bus, which was on its way to Malawi, was intercepted on the M1 with 52 extra people. It had 117 people on a bus. One driver, 101 passengers, and 15 minors. 52 passengers beyond its legal capacity. Well, welcome to South Africa, folks. Welcome to South Africa. Malawians going home for Christmas. That's a lot of people on a bus. So how did these people get on that bus? Well, how did they get through all the roadblocks? Because government officials aren't doing their job. Eventually, some government officials did their job. 65-seater bus. Stopped at 9 a.m. Yep, all those people. Things are cheaper here. Namibians are going into Angola for Christmas shopping because things are too expensive in Namibia. They save hundreds, if not thousands, of Namibian dollars by going into Angola to get things. While a goat for slaughter costs $1,000 in Namibia, it's just $400 in Angola. A box of frozen chicken costs $600 in Namibia, and it's only $300 in Angola. A box of nappies, $200, only $100 in Angola. There you go. Good for them. Zimbabwe man is in custody after a group arrests him for calling Mnangagwa a dog. Oh, gosh, what a horrible crime. A group called Zimbabwe Anti-Presidential Criticism has been going from tavern to bar, from street to bus terminus, arresting people who criticize President Mnangagwa. While it is legal in Zimbabwe to criticize him, the group says its aim is to protect Mnangagwa's rule. One of the men was arrested last week, is still in jail, having been denied bail. Anashe Mundandi, a resident of Mbare in Harare, was apprehended by the group on a bus terminus and taken to the police station where he's charged with being a criminal nuisance for calling Mnangagwa a dog and denied bail, even though these people have no authority to arrest people. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Well, French court has jailed a former DRC rebel leader, Roger Lumbala, for 30 years. DRC ex-rebel leader Roger Lumbala was found guilty by a Paris court on Monday of complicity in crimes against humanity committed during the Second Congo War and sentenced to 30 years in prison. The trial has been hailed by international justice advocates as a milestone in expanding accountability in the conflict that left millions of people dead. They sought a life sentence for the 67-year-old. He was also found guilty of ordering or aiding and abetting torture, inhumane crimes, summary executions, rape, constituting torture, sexual slavery, forced labor, theft, and pillage. And for that, he gets 30 years. He gets 30 years for all those crimes. That's just a joke. SADC deploys a panel of elders to help steer Madagascar's elections. We'll see what happens there. SADC decided to deploy a panel of elders in Madagascar to aid in political stability and democratic reform. This is after a coup in October. Supporters of Tunisia's Kais Saied, a fascist dictator who has overthrown his government, they rally and among deepening political divisions. Tunisian fascist President Kais Saied supporters rallied in the capital Wednesday, calling for opposition traitors after mounting street protests that have highlighted the widening political divisions. Rights groups have accused Saied of an unprecedented crackdown on the opposition, saying he's using the judiciary and police to stifle criticism. Saied rejects the accusation, saying he's cleansing the country of traitors and corrupt elite. And I say Kais Saied is a criminal who has overthrown his legitimate government and should be brought to book. Well, President Trump, in his expanded travel ban for Africa and the rest of the world, but Africa's been hit the hardest. Africa's been hit the hardest by the Trump administration's decision to add 20 countries to the list of travel restrictions. The African Union urged the United States to protect its borders in a manner that is balanced, evidence-based, and reflective of long-standing ties and partnership between the U.S. and Africa. 12 of the 15 countries that face partial restrictions are in Africa: Angola, Benin, Ivory Coast, Gabon, Gambia, Malawi, Mauritania, Nigeria, Senegal, Tanzania, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. And then there's Antigua and Bermuda and Dominica in the Caribbean, as well as Tonga in the Pacific. The crumbling peace deals show you the limits of President Trump's ability to negotiate peace. As I've said, the DRC deal, there was no guarantee, and also now the Thai-Cambodian border crisis. The president can only do so much. If these people aren't committed to peace, then, you can negotiate a peace agreement. You can give incentives so that people decide they're going to break it. Not much you can do. Benjamin Netanyahu has approved a $35 billion natural gas export deal to Egypt, the biggest in the history of Israel. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said on Wednesday that he has approved a $35 billion natural gas export deal for Egypt, the biggest gas deal in Israeli history. The gas will be delivered to Egypt over the next 15 years by U.S. energy giant Chevron, a key owner of a gas field off Israel's coast of the Mediterranean. Half the proceeds are expected to go to Israel's state coffers. So, that's big news for Israel. New South Wales announces $75,000 for the victims of the Bondi Beach attack. Covers funerals, repatriation, travel costs, and new community hubs and security funding. New South Wales government has announced payments of up to $75,000. That's $50,000 US dollars to families of victims of the December 14th terror attack. Under a joint state-federal arrangement, this will be paid for. So Australian taxpayers now have to pay for the fascist ISIS that the government allowed in the midst. So this Australian people will now bear the burden of paying this stipend to the families because the Australian government let these fascist, racist murderers in the country. Wow, this is insane. The United States has approved an $11 billion arms deal for Taiwan. Beijing's pissed off. Good. Let them be pissed off. Wow. U.S. said it approved $11.1 billion in arms sales packages for Taiwan, a show of support from Washington as President Trump focused on trade deals. The approved weapon sales announced late Wednesday are intended to support Taipei's efforts to modernize its armed forces and maintain a credible defensive capability. The approvals riled Beijing, which has vehemently opposed any arms deals to Taipei. Too bad, China. Well, French authorities have arrested a suspect in connection with a massive cyber attack on their interior ministry. Authorities provide a few details about the suspect aside from his age and that he had been convicted of similar cyber crimes earlier this year. He has a history of perpetrating cyber attacks. So why don't you just take his ability away to get on the internet? Miss Finland has been accused of racism. Miss Finland's viral slanted eyes photo stirs a racism firestorm. Finland's delegate to last month's Miss Universe pageant held in Thailand was sparked controversy and outrage after a photo of her pulling the corners of her eyes went viral. Sarah Dasfusk, who was stripped of her Miss Finland crown, uploaded a photo with the caption, "Eating with a Chinese." The slanted eyes pose is often seen as disrespectful to East Asians. It drew a backlash in Japan, South Korea, and China against a 22-year-old and even against her country's flag carrier, Finnair. Finland's prime minister weighed in on Monday, saying that making such gestures was thoughtless and stupid and damaging the country. Miss Disface claimed the gesture was her reaction to the headache during dinner. Well, that's not believable. What she did was inappropriate, rude, and disrespectful, and she should never have done it. But here's my question. Why is a Bosnian or Macedonian, why are they Miss Finland? Sarah Defisk, that how do you pronounce that name? That is a Balkans surname. That's not Finnish. It's not Finnish. It's not Swedish. It's not Finnish. She's not a Finn. How is she Miss Finland? She's a foreigner. And don't tell me, oh, she was born here. I don't want to hear that. She's not a Finn. Shouldn't be Finnish. Shouldn't be Miss Finland. That's what you get for putting someone that's not a Finnish representing your country. Trump orders a blockade of sanctioned oil tankers in and out of Venezuela. Oof. President Trump on Tuesday ordered a total and complete blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers entering and leaving Venezuela. Wow. Venezuela is completely surrounded by the largest armada ever assembled in the history of South America. Ooh, it's not getting pretty there. Bolivia bets on lithium and the U.S. to end its economic slump. Yeah, Bolivia hopes it can mine lithium for all these batteries. They're seeking a financial lifeline from Trump administration as well as opening the vast lithium reserves to foreign investors. We'll see how that goes for them. Panama ports deal has run into a roadblock as the Chinese demand a stake. Beijing threatens to block the BlackRock-led deal to buy ports unless state-owned Costco gets a majority stake. No, I'm afraid that's not going to happen, China. You're not going to get a stake in this. Piss off. That was the whole point of the sanctions or the tariff threats against Panama, was to keep you guys out of there. All right. $8 billion black market for Venezuelan oil is closing down. 70% of the country's oil exports rely on a fleet of sanctioned vessels now being targeted by the U.S. military. Venezuela's long used the same playbook as Russia and Iran to get around crippling American sanctions on its oil industry, tapping a shadowy fleet of aging vessels to carry crude to customers. But the blockade will stop that, and now it's just a matter of time before the government in Caracas collapses. No, I don't think there's going to be a war. I think they're going to collapse, and the people are going to rise up against them. Canada's population is declining. Wow. The government has greatly restricted the number of work and study permits issued to foreigners following an unpopular immigration boom during the pandemic. Yep. The population in Canada has declined, driven by a drop in immigration, new census data shows. Canada's population now stands at just under 41.6 million people, decreasing by about 76,000 over the last quarter, according to demographic estimates. The last time Canada's population decreased on a quarter basis was the end of 2020 because of the pandemic. The dip was small, but it was the largest decline since 1946, as Canada, like much of Europe and Asia, struggles with falling birth rates and has become dependent on immigration for growth. However, most of the growth this time was actually from natural reproduction, not from immigration. Trump declares that America is on the brink of an economic boom. We just need a new president. Well, that's true. We definitely need a new president after Biden. President Trump kicked off the 2026 campaign with a rapid-fire recitation of his accomplishments this year, declaring that America is now poised for an economic boom. He said Americans are in for a windfall after the soaring prices of the Biden years. 11 months ago, and I heard a mess, and I'm fixing it. When I took office, we had inflation worse than 48 years. Well, that's a bit, 48 years is probably right. Back to about 1980. Inflation has cooled down to 2.7%, lower than expected. While the media lies about inflation, it's down to 2.7%. Also, folks, they've been telling you for ages that affordability. Trump's got high inflation. The prices aren't coming down. It keeps, what is going on? But here's the truth, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the truth. While the fake news in the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal, shame on the Wall Street Journal, keep telling people about consumer prices and how the prices will keep going up. Of course they're going up. There's always a bit of inflation. But they're acting as if the prices are going up massively. They're lying to the American public. Here are the true statistics. Check a look at that. Whoops, that's not it. Take a look at this. There's the chart. And this is from the New York Times. That's inflation. In 2009, we had deflation because of the financial collapse. But then inflation ran in a band from about 0.5% to 3%, or mostly 2%. And then it shot up during Biden. Look how it shot up during the Biden years, 2021. Trump has been in office for 10 months, and look how it's come down. Look how it's come down. In 2025, look how inflation has come down. It's less than 3%. Yet they continually talk about affordability. They continually talk about inflation. If Biden had 3% inflation, we wouldn't be suffering now. Would have been great. So here's the story of the New York Times, just so that you can see the receipts for it. Inflation unexpectedly slowed 2.7% in November. There you go. There you go. There's the story. Brown University, suspect, they have new information about the suspect. By the way, folks, I'm going to talk about the Brown University situation here, not now, but sometime soon. That is a total DEI cock-up. You got a police chief for the university who argued against law enforcement and said that we don't need cops. You've got incompetent males, incompetent females, people hired for their ethnicity, Colombians talking about hiring Colombian security officers for Brown. It's not a Colombian settlement. It's unbelievable. So a federal judge will not block the Trump renovation of the ballroom. A federal judge allowed the ongoing ballroom construction project. White House continued turning away a preservation organization request to halt, at least for the time being. Yeah, they don't have standing, so I don't know why that even got a hearing. They don't even have standing. They don't own the building. Trump defends his handling of the economy and offers active military $1,776 warrior dividend. I didn't get it. I'm retired now. That sucks. Life is tough. I'll survive. Warrior dividend for service members, says Trump. I'm not going to get to all these stories. And U.S. has brought in a record $200 billion from new tariffs. Yep. $200 billion this year. Marijuana stocks are jumping as Trump is going to sign an executive order to reclassify it and lower its danger status. U.S. government admits the Federal Aviation Administration, the Army failures in Washington that led to that crash that killed 67 people and that helicopter flew into. By the way, you see where that helicopter is being dug out of the Potomac? Look across there. That's where military families live, right there. That's like 300 meters away. I've been there. That's insane. And I think that's probably going to do it. Korea Zinc is going to build a $7.3 billion smelter in the U.S. More industrialization coming to America, courtesy of Trump. And Utah. I got a great story in Utah, but I'll save that for later. That's going to do it, folks. Truth Social is merging with a nuclear fusion firm in a $6 billion deal. That'll make Trump even wealthier. But unfortunately, I must depart. I'm going to be a guest over on Vintage Toys program. If one of the folks could get the link of that, you had the same thing. But anyway, it's a fake beauty gig. What's that? Oh, yeah. Thanks for the news. Okay. I still have some wrapped Christmas presents. One-stop news broadcast. You guys, funny how they didn't want to block basketball, of course, but a ballroom can actually properly receive it. Yeah, exactly. All right, so is one of the mods there can give me a link to that? I don't have that link. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Vanit is on live now, so if you want to get there. Is he going to come up now? There he is. Bospagat. 500 people watching. Let me get that link right now. Okay, come on, get there. Come on, take me there.
How long it takes a beginner.
Okay. Copy. Let me get over there. Okay, he's on right now. Let me go ahead and give you that link. So if you want to go follow me over there, folks, you can do that. I'm going to go over there in just a moment. In fact, I'll try to send some people over there by putting that link. What the hell happened here? My tab closed. Oh, my goodness. Oh, YouTube. Causing problems. Okay, so give me a second here, folks. I want to make sure you can get a chance to get over there. Okay. It takes a while to get here when it's operating slowly. Okay, there we go. Going to be redirected there. Okay, so I'm going to go over there. I'll see you guys over there if you want to come. Be sure to hit the like button if you haven't done already. Let's see how we're doing here. We got 900 likes. That's not enough, man. We had a lot of people here. 6,000 people show up. All right, see you over there. Thanks. God bless. Watch my other video that I published this morning.